Hello, my name is Major TJ Kelly, and I spoke in an earlier video about a design problem that was given to me to prepare an alternative path of entry and requirements list for specialist cartographers. I talked about how I assembled a diverse team in order to have the right breadth of perspective to answer that question thoroughly. Today, I'd like to talk about some of the ways that we did that, some of the tools we used to solve that problem. And the key was to use a bunch of different ones to bring out the best in everybody. One of the big ones that happened actually by accident but worked really well for us was a blending of virtual teleconferencing and in-person work. We weren't sure exactly who was going to be on the design team, and we wanted to be open to people who weren't in our geographic region. And for sure, there wasn't any money to bring them in for a couple of hours of useful but ultimately small-scale design thinking. So we planned on a VTC, and we did that in our first 2-hour session. We used the time to meet each other, to understand the different backgrounds that were there. We talked about the basics. What is the problem we're trying to solve? What do we know? What else do we need to define in this problem? And about some of the ideas for how we're going to start solving it. This was really useful. It was cheaper in money, I suppose, but most importantly in time. The effort of bringing everyone together was absent. And so it was easier to get all of these diverse specialists together because everyone's got a boss, and those bosses don't want to give them up for hours or days, but a couple hours only once or twice, well, that's more manageable. It also helped us to quickly get through a lot of material in a way that didn't involve a lot of effort or investment on the part of the participants. But we agreed that since we did in fact happen to all be in the same metropolitan area, that the second 2-hour design meeting would be in person. So we reserved a space, we all came together, and we worked together in person for the second 2-hour part. And this was valuable because it allowed us to have some of the alternative interactions that sometimes are only possible in a face-to-face meeting, some of the sidebar discussions, some of the context building. We also had the opportunity to use some of the social cues to see who was thinking and who was shy to speak up. And that could be a problem. It was for our design team. Really, the value of an in-person conversation is well known, the things that we get out of it. But blending the two different approaches together to make better efficiency and achieve the objective was a valuable outcome that we stumbled onto by accident, but which I would definitely use on purpose in the future. During both parts, the VTC and the in-person part of our design process, we used a couple of different tools. And I think that it was important to use diverse approaches to problem solving to allow everyone to bring up their ideas and articulate what they wanted in their own way. We did some Q&A where I asked questions and noted down the answers. We did some general conversation. Hey, let's just have a talk about this, which was easier with the smallish group that we had. We spent some time whiteboarding ideas, more traditional brainstorming. We spent some time in breakout groups to make sure that the quieter people had fewer people to compete with to bring up their ideas. And overall, by mixing the different sorts of approaches that we could use, we enabled everyone to bring up their ideas. We enabled everyone to think about the problem in a lot of different ways. And doing so really helped us to make sure that we covered everything from a couple of different angles, that we didn't get stuck into one way of thinking because we had chosen one way of thinking about it. I think that it's important to look at all of the different tools for working through the problem and bring a bunch of different ones to the design table. I believe that we achieved a better result in our design process because we made sure that however different people think about the problem, they had a chance to approach the problem in the way that was comfortable and natural to them. If we had just picked one or two ways, the ones probably that I would have chosen because they're my ways of thinking, I think I would have lost a lot of contribution. And hearkening back to my other topic, I think I would have lost the most from the people who had the most to say, the people who were the most different from me. And so making sure that I didn't just use my way of thinking, but a bunch of different tools from the design toolbox really helped to ensure that the answer that we came up with is one that I'm confident in, can explain, and believe really represents the breadth and the depth of the problem space. Thank you.